local issues, great songs. Seriously, get down there. Now, go, put on some pants already and hustle. Okay, are you gone? Great. Let's continue with our scheduled program. Valemount, I'm glad you left because tonight's show is mediocre at best. It's terrible. I mean, it's really poorly put together and it's just an awful string of events. This week we interviewed some space nerd from Ontario who's engineered a giant pink space wall. I gather it's to keep out unwanted immigrants and ICBMs. Anyways, it's hard to understand and sort of a funny kind of Skype conversation we had. Let's go to our conversation with Peter M. of Perth, Ontario. Peter M., welcome to our show.
Thanks, Andrew.
I understand that you've got a special space program going on there, and this really concerns me because we all know that Canadians don't go into space on their own. Canadians have a very firm role as hitchhikers in space. For example, the Canadarm. If that Canadarm didn't have a giant thumb on the end of it, it never would have made it into space. You know, we're hitchhikers there. How can Canadians possibly start our own expensive space exploration program in this time of economic downturn?
Well, here in Lanark County, we've taken the do-it-yourself approach, and we've launched a number of space missions, near-space missions, on our own initiative, using a low-cost program to launch various experiments into the stratosphere and beyond.
I'm sure it's might be low cost for you, but for the average Joe, it must be simply extraordinary. So give me a sense, what is your budget?
The consumable cost is in the neighborhood of $200 to $600 per mission, depending on the type of mission.
Wow, and that's millions of dollars. That's extraordinary. Now tell me, is it Canadian taxpayers?
Well, it's actually hundreds of dollars.
Right, I understand. Hundreds of millions of dollars. I understand. Very expensive. Are Canadian taxpayers on the hook for this project?
Well, it's a community-based effort, and we would try and rely as much as possible on community fundraising events and out-of-pocket expenses.
That's a lot of fundraising. That's just extraordinary. Have you actually got anything into space?
Well, we've completed 7 missions to date, and we've got photographs of space along with some spatial data and temperature data.
What technologies are you using?
Our primary ascent method is using lighter-than-air gas.
That sounds really space age. That's amazing. And is this something they just discovered?
To my knowledge, it's been around.
It sounds
since
too complicated for us to understand, really. Are you getting any closer to launching people?
The thought has crossed our minds.
No, I understand that this project could potentially bring our southern neighbor to its knees. Is it true that you are already violating American aerospace in sort of an aggravated attack?
Well, we have had several international missions where we did have to retrieve our spacecraft from U.S. territory. We followed all critical procedures, and we didn't have any issues so far.
And are you getting backing from the diplomatic corps in the Harper administration?
The Harper administration has been a bit mum on this one. We were hoping Mr. Harper might come out and to one of our launches, but he hasn't answered our calls to date.
Right. And they're mum on a lot of things. I have my suspicion that this is actually a military project. Is that the case?
Some of our volunteers have military training.
What is the underlying purpose of your mission?
It's a good excuse for the guys to hang out and at the pub and plan the next mission. Fun and education are pretty high up on our list of priorities.
Extraordinary. What I got access to some clearly classified documents, and I probably know more about your project than you'd want to give me credit for. Tell me about the massive pink space wall that I can see on Google Earth.
It's a three-dimensional plot of the path of the two balloons that you may have seen. The GPS on the balloon collects the balloon's position in three dimensions, latitude, longitude, and altitude, and we're able to record that data and plot it in a 3D form that's viewable in what your viewers may know as Google Earth.
Obviously, the possibilities for keeping out immigration and deterring intercontinental ballistic missiles with that massive pink wow. I mean, I think it must have been about 20 miles high at some point. So that's just extraordinary. And we're going to show our viewers.
May have actually been over 20 miles. Our current altitude is 127,900 feet, which is within 500 feet of the current world record for altitude, and we are chasing that world record.
Just the uses, if you could just put up walls like this wherever you fly that thing, I mean, that's extraordinary. Well, Mr. McCracken, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.